Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Andy, it's our favorite words. It's time. It's NBA Cup time, people. Lakers open up in San Antonio. Got a big weekend overall. We'll start breaking it all down next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one is always free, never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 26,000 subscribers, Andy, all of whom have NBA Cup fever. I remember when we were kids, Andy, and November would roll around, and you and me and Dad and Grandpa would always be like, "It's NBA Cup time." Like, this has just been a family tradition for us, going back a long ways, and I could not be more excited for it to be rolling around again this year.
You know what? Screw you. I liked the Cup last year. I thought the Cup was fun. I thought it produced good games.
I thought it was great until, a week after.
Whatever. No, if you're asking me about the after Cup glow, I'm not a fan of that so far. But if you're asking me about the Cup, I'm not. It's fun to be the cynic and mock it and whatever. I'm not going to be that dude. Like, I am secure enough to admit, you know what? The Cup was actually a really fun time.
It was. I thought it was
the best November and early December basketball on a regular basis the league has seen in a while.
A long time. In that sense, it was a big success. And I enjoyed watching. I was totally surprised, totally taken by surprise, Andy, at the level of seriousness with which the players took it. Like, they were way more into it than I thought it was going to be. No. And as Rui Hachimura explains it, we want the money, which, okay, cool. It's just interesting this year because I think people saw what happened with the Lakers post tournament. And that was easily the worst stretch of basketball the Lakers played. It almost put them, in a position where they, could barely get into the play-in, or even had some threats of not making it there at all. And so it really just raises and by the way, the Lakers opening the NBA Cup this evening in San Antonio, 4:30 tip-off local time. It's a really interesting game, Lakers versus San Antonio, because I think the Spurs are a phenomenally entertaining team to watch. But as we're just looking at the tournament before this game, how much do you want them to try to win? Because they really used a lot of energy in this thing last year to go and win it. It was important to them.
Well, it was in particular important to LeBron.
Yeah.
And this was something, by the way, I predicted was going to be the case before it happened. I thought LeBron would recognize that if the Cup gains significance, and by the way, as far as its fit and importance in NBA culture, that is something we're not going to know for, I would say, 5 to 10 years minimum, at least, maybe even longer.
At least.
Right. But I think LeBron recognized, and especially too, we've talked about how LeBron, I think at this stage of his career, where he's basically done everything he can do other than just win more championships, and that is not 100% in his control. I think LeBron is, though, looking for the unique chapters and the unique milestones that he can add to his career, and being the NBA Cup MVP of the inaugural Cup, if this thing takes on cultural significance in the NBA, I think he recognized, there's cachet that people will look back on with me. As far as your question about how much do I want to see them look to win, I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, probably about an 8, because the reality is these are regular season games. Until you get to the finals, these are games that count towards your regular season record, and these wins matter.
Right.
So, and this is one of the things that I actually think is pretty brilliant about the structure of the cup is if you are a team that has postseason aspirations, I guess unless you're like the Cavaliers and create a cushion by never losing up to the cup, like you have to win these games. Like they matter. Now, where I won't go 10 out of 10 is I don't think I need to see them go balls to the walls, like trying to win this thing at all costs, which I think was the case last season. But I do expect them to go through the majority of their time in this tournament for however long that lasts, trying to win because they need to win the games regardless of how you feel about the cup.
It's you look at the Western Conference standings, and Thursday only the Mavs played. It was Dallas. I didn't even look at the final score, but the Mavs were struggling with Utah. Utah actually won that game. 115-113 was the final. So you look at the standings in the Western Conference. This is only Utah's third win. Of course, Utah is the second game of the NBA Cup for the Lakers. That'll be on Wednesday. You look at this, and the Lakers are 7-4, and to your point, like they need to win games because they need to win games. 7-4 right now is good for sixth in the conference. The 11 seed is Minnesota right now at 6-6. San Antonio also 6-6. So are the Clippers, and right now Dallas is a couple games under 500, but you assume that's going to improve. There's just no wiggle room here. So like you look at these next three games, for example, and it's Lakers versus San Antonio tonight. It's Lakers versus players wearing the uniforms of the New Orleans Pelicans because 80% of their lineup that you know of is injured.
It's Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, and a bunch of dudes. We don't know who they are, and it's our job to know who they are. So if we don't know, you likely don't know.
Their number one pick.
Oh, okay. Misi I am familiar with because he was a number one pick, but not many other dudes.
Not much. And so then Utah again on Wednesday. And so you look at this, Andy, and the Lakers at 7-4 need to play the next three games. And when a week from Thursday rolls around and they play Orlando, and I know Paolo Banchero is hurt, but the Magic have figured it out. They've at least as we're talking on Thursday, they've won 4 in a row, and are playing pretty well. Like they need to be 9-5. They need to win 2 of these 3 games. Could you beat San Antonio in San Antonio? Sure, but that's a good team. Wemby just went for 50 the other day. He's playing pretty well. They've got Devin Vassell back. Castle, their rookie's playing well. Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul have been nice fits there in terms of providing leadership and a little bit of production. Keldon Johnson is still there. They got a bunch of good young players, even with Jeremy Sohan injured. So, that's a good team. I am a believer that the Spurs could very well, over the course of the second half of the season, the next, as the season goes along, put together a little bit of a run that gets them deeply into the playoff race. So, but you got to win 2 of these 3. Like the New Orleans game in particular is just I realize the second night of a back-to-back, but you have to win Saturday night against New Orleans. There's just no way around it.
Here's where I think, though, when you talk about how hard the Lakers will look to win the cup, how important is this to them? Where you may see the line that doesn't get crossed is how much the Lakers chase the point differential. Like if they have the win in the bag and they know they're going to win a game, but hitting the point differential late in this stretch means keeping LeBron and especially Anthony Davis, who right now, other than Christian Coloco, has no backup at all in terms of actual centers. I could see them maybe deciding to concede the point differential, take the win, and whatever that does to their cup advancement, that's what it does to the cup advancement. I could see them splitting the baby there. But again, they're going to treat these wins like they matter because they do, whether you give a rat's ass about the cup or not.
I wouldn't mind seeing them win enough games. It means they've won games to get. I kind of don't want them to play that extra one, like the one that doesn't count in the standings. That's not something I need to see. One more thought about the Lakers at the beginning of the season. I know we did kind of a 10 games in. How good are they? I saw a really interesting number Thursday that made me kind of think about where the Lakers are relative to the rest of the conference. I want to run it by you and see if you think it's a significant number. We'll do it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up all the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a 3%, very handsome retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Game Time. I don't know if you're like me, you got kids, you've got, whatever it is. Like, one of the things we love to do is kind of check out MLS games, for example, and we like to wait and see if the tickets will drop a little bit, which game it is, and all that stuff. But, everybody's busy, so we don't always necessarily want to be locked into having tickets for a game. What we do like to do is watch the prices and then jump on something when the price is good. I tell the kids, hey, you want to go see LAFC, and we're out the door. And we can do that with Game Time because of all the features that go along with the website. I can always see how much the tickets are going to cost with the all-in pricing. That's really helpful. I can see what the game is going to look like from our seats. The kids really love that feature, so they know they're going to have the angle and see it the way that they want. It can be done really quickly. So if we do see a price that we like, we can jump right in, and we know which deals are the best because Game Time tells us which tickets and deals are the best. If you're in LA this weekend, one really fun thing that you can do, UFC 309, go to the watch party at Cosm in Inglewood. This is a great way to take in a UFC match. Cosm itself is a really fun place to experience sports. Game Time has tickets available for the watch party at Cosm for UFC 309 coming up on Saturday. Game Time, the only place to get deals like this one. So go to the Game Time app, find the tickets you're looking for, get out there and have a good time. So it doesn't actually technically apply anymore, but heading into what was it? The Lakers played on Wednesday's game against Memphis. The Lakers were the only team in the West in a playoff spot, playoff play-in, whatever, that had a negative point differential. It is technically back in positive territory. It is positive 0.1. So you look down the list of different teams in the West, and OKC, not surprisingly, at 10-2, they're leading the conference in point differential as well, 12 and a little over 12.5. Golden State, a really surprising Golden State team, they're over 11 with their point differential. Phoenix, 0.5 point. Denver, 3 points. Houston, at 8-4, has the third best point differential in the conference. And you kind of go through this. Actually, I take that back. Fourth best behind Memphis, surprisingly. So, point being, you go through all of these teams, even the Mavericks at 5-7 are +3 on the season. Do you think it's meaningful, especially when you compare the Lakers, Andy, to the rest of the teams that they are competing with, that they are straddling a negative point differential at this point in the season?
I mean, do I think it's a red?
Does it reveal anything, indicate anything, talk about relative strength?
Yeah, it indicates that their defense is really bad and eats away a lot of the progress that they make offensively. I mean, they are basically scoring the same amount of points as they allow. They are averaging 117.6 points per game. They are allowing 117.5 points per game. That gives you a very thin margin to win games. So, yeah, it's significant. Do I think it's necessarily a red flag for the season? No, because I think there are ways to get better. But look, we spent all of last year, remember, doing a point differential watch for most of the season. It took till like game 75 before the Lakers had a positive point differential. And remember, we were also on games above 500 watch. But like, yeah.
By the way, and those two things, by the way, are related. Teams that, if you are, you talk about a team with essentially that gives up as many points as they score, that team tends to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 500.
Well, here's the other thing it reveals, beyond the fact that the defense is not holding up its end of the bargain compared to what's been a very efficient offense. If nothing else, this reveals something you and I have both talked about, where the Lakers need to take more threes regularly, if for no other reason than offsetting your defense that doesn't stop enough. Like you need to run up the score a little bit more, even with, and this was something that happened last year. The Lakers were a very good three-point shooting team, particularly post All-Star break, but they were still squeaking by because of their shot diet in a lot of that in the defense. But the shot diet was not compensating for the defense enough. That to me is the biggest takeaway. It reflects something we've talked about a lot with this team.
I think it is. I think, and I haven't sat and I haven't watched the Kings play multiple, 6 or 7 games to really get a feel for what is, really good and really bad. I mean, the only team that I've watched play more than 5 or 6 times is obviously the Lakers at this point in the season. And I think as a fan, it is always easy to assume that the problems that you have with your team are both unique to your team and worse than everybody else's. Like I can tell you, I know that they are talking over at Locked On Mavs about all kinds of problems that the Dallas Mavericks, who I believe lost Kyrie Irving for at least, left the game at least with a shoulder injury. So like stuff piling up with teams everywhere around. Like they are not pleased over there. The Mavs are really struggling, and that's a team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year. That said, they have a positive point differential. You could argue their record isn't as good as how well they've been playing. And I know, at least from watching the Lakers, like, okay, they've got a decent record. They're winning some games, but man alive, that bench is a problem. And like, there are just red flags to wave. I don't want to do that, though, to the point that I undervalue or discount the stuff that actually is going well. The play of Anthony Davis, the play of LeBron James, 3 triple doubles in a row. Austin Reeves seems to be coming around a little bit. There are some positive factors in here. And so I think it indicates probably a little bit of weakness that is fair, because I think the red flags with the Lakers are real. But I think it's a mistake to say that like this team is fraudulent or whatever. They should be 9-5 at the end of the weekend. And the more they can stay above water, the more they can absorb some of these times when they either need to learn, get better, somebody's hurt, whatever it might be. Like 9-5 after 14 games would be a really nice start for this team.
They're a good, flawed team, and the record reflects that. And that is exactly what we thought they would be heading into this season. Again, I am not considering the negative point differential a red flag in terms of things that cannot be fixed at all. I don't necessarily know if all the things will be easy to fix, particularly without any type of trade, but they can do better with certain areas. But again, if you're asking me, do I think it means nothing, or is it something that doesn't give me any degree of pause? The answer would be no, because it reflects not just exactly what I've been saying about this team heading into this season. It reflects what I was saying about this team last year in the exact same way. Like at some point, you are who your point differential says you are.
It's I really do hope the Lakers are able to make this work, figure out how to, and stick around because this is looking like, the Thunder, the Warriors are a real surprise, in a good way, if you're a basketball fan. And I love that the Grizzlies look like they're kind of back, especially once they get Ja and Bane back, and the Spurs are up and coming, and then the Rockets may have arrived. Like, this is a really fun year because all the teams that are upcoming seem like they're kind of on their way up, but the teams that are maybe a little older or whatever it might be haven't quite declined yet either. So like, it's that nice inflection, like that point where everyone is kind of still in it. And I really want the Lakers to be part of that because it's going to make it so much more fun to cover. You mentioned help and whether or not help could be coming. People have been talking about maybe shoring up the center spot. Like, any chance that could happen? We'll get into it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel, and you can tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, $5, an Abe Lincoln, and you get $150 in bonus bets if you win that, again, meager $5 wager. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So say you get a hunch in the middle of a game, it just feels like you can sense everything before it's going to happen. You feel like you know the momentum of where this game is going, and specifically where the points are headed or where some of the stats are headed. You can confirm, though, checking out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bet. So it's all streamlined. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. And again, you get started with $150 in bonus bets by just winning your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
It is no secret, Andy, the Lakers have been trying to figure out a way to get center help. And the need has grown because with Christian Wood on the shelf for the foreseeable future, and now you have Jackson Hayes out at least basically another week, possibly a little more than that. The Lakers, you noted...
I'm erring on the side of longer than that for all Laker injuries until given evidence to start thinking otherwise.
So with that in mind, the Lakers have Christian Koloko and Anthony Davis, and that's it. Like, you can't even go, you really small ball center in Armel Traore, but, Colin Castleton, and I am not, doing revisionism on should they have kept Castleton over Traore, or, was it a mistake to keep Olivari or whatever it is? The answer is no. But, Castleton at least could have sat on the bench for you for a couple games. He is in Memphis right now because that's where all of their guys go. Is there anything out there, any possibilities that you can see of the Lakers being able to address this question around center depth before we get to mid-December when more players around the league can be traded?
I think it's going to be hard just because beyond what the Lakers are willing to do, a lot of teams just aren't going to be looking to trade right now because they may not know exactly what they have as far as who they are as a team, like, what their upper ceiling could be. Or let's just say they're a team like the Jazz that have spent the last few years with teams just eventually waiting to strip them for parts.
Right.
A Walker Kessler, for example, they are probably expecting they could get a pretty good offer on him. So they may not want to take, let's just say the Lakers finally say, you know what, we will, in our minds at least, overpay for Walker Kessler. And, we've talked about Kessler before. Like, I think he's a good player. I think he is quite possibly overqualified for the job that I think he would have, at least in the short term with the Lakers. Maybe it expands over time, but I think he's kind of overqualified. But let's just say the Lakers say, screw it. We need to do this. The Jazz might just say, unless the offer blows them away, we're going to wait because we have no reason to do this now. Or, for example, there's somebody that I had wanted the Lakers to seriously inquire about. We had heard that they were interested is Nick Richards in Charlotte, who I think is perfect for what they are looking for in a high-end backup for Anthony Davis, but he's hurt right now, and I guess on a week-to-week basis in terms of when he's going to return to the court. So it's going to be, for a lot of different reasons, limited options for the Lakers unless they are willing to put out a true Godfather offer that would make a team say, fine, we won't wait.
And I don't know if that almost certainly means you're not getting better. Probably. I mean, it's hard to picture, deals that are that lopsided where you're putting so much stuff in or whatever, where that's the thing that makes you remember too. Like, even if they get a player, Andy, that makes them better, like if you give up both of your picks or, whatever it might be that you like, and that player's not worth it, you're not really getting better because there's not only is it, you're sacrificing the opportunity to make a better trade somewhere else, or two trades somewhere else. So the Lakers, the box doesn't change. Like, they have a need. They've had the need since the summer. I think they were fully aware that, geez, we're kind of thin. But, I know they talked about, we love our roster. And what do you expect them to say? Like, man, a lot of the back end of our roster is really not good enough. And I'm a little worried at the idea of Jackson Hayes being the primary backup for Anthony Davis. These are not things that general managers can say, at least on the record. So I agree with you. Not only do I think that they're in a box that isn't changing anytime soon, certainly not while Jackson Hayes is hurt. I don't see how they necessarily get out of it down the road either without, again, kind of having to make a deal, at least with the current climate, having to make a deal where they're really getting, I don't want to say screwed, but like they're being held with their feet to the fire and made to pay a very high price.
Well, in the case of someone like Kessler, because he doesn't make a ton of money, where you would be getting screwed per se would be giving up both firsts, which I think is too much for Walker Kessler. I think most fans or people I've seen cover this team who even like Kessler say that's too much for Walker Kessler, particularly with, again, the cap on the role that I think he would play. But same thing could happen with I don't know, like Robert Williams. Like, what would you give up for him, not being sure that he's going to stay healthy, and then you end up in the exact same box you were in before, minus the assets that you gave up to bring in Robert Williams.
There is no way I would trade.
Neither would I.
Picks to get Robert Williams.
Neither would I. I would not trade anything of value at all for Robert Williams because I don't trust that he'll stay on the court. Like, he's a talented player, but his history shows you can't rely on this. And if you're bringing him in because your front court is all decimated by injuries, that feels like you're just playing with fire at that point. So, and Williams, I bring up just because he's somebody who's actually trade eligible. Like, he's one of the few names you could trade for right now.
Correct.
And there's a lot of risk with it. I don't picture the Bucks throwing in the towel right now and making Brook Lopez available. Like, I can't imagine they're going to do that this early. Like, there aren't a lot of options out there just that are even available for the Lakers, much less ones that I think they'd be really willing to coerce a team into trading this early.
The only thing that you could really do is, I think, because remember, cutting Maxwell Lewis doesn't solve your problem because you got to bring somebody in. You're dealing with apron time, and which veterans minimum center out there is going to make you better. I think you have access to bodies through your two-way contracts. If you wanted to cut one of the guys that you have on a two-way, you could find a center to come sit on the bench to play, like pick the best G League or free agent center you think is out there. But that to me is it's not even just short-term thinking. It's just dumb because the chances of that person being able to help you are really low. And so you're giving up on prospects that you like. You just let Castleton go because you think Oliveri's got a chance to be a decent NBA player.
Which I support. I
agree
support
100%. If that's your evaluation, look, I mean, the Lakers have done a bad job holding on to these guys, but clearly they can play because they keep popping up in the NBA. You have Traore. If you believe that guy could become, is very young, is an athletic freak and very long, and if you think that guy can become a player, to cut him for a center that's probably not going to sit on your bench and almost certainly isn't going to make you better if he plays, seems really silly to me.
Especially too, then it really forces you to re-examine why you brought in Koloko, who, for what it's worth, I like the potential of Koloko, but if center depth was something that you would be that concerned about, that you would get rid of one of your two-way guys to bring in a more established two-way level center, why didn't you just bring in that guy in the first place, that there were no questions about whether or not he
I'll tell you, because I don't think that player, because that player doesn't exist. There is no, there is no two-way center that you could bring up or that you can have access to, that you can confidently put in your lineup, because that's not what it's for. I'm not explaining to you necessarily, I understand, but to answer the question that you put out there, you get Koloko because the hope is that you can buy low on a player that will you can then develop into somebody who exceeds that.
I don't disagree with you that player doesn't exist, and that's why I wouldn't cut Armel Traore or Oliveri or even Koloko for this fictional center. My point is, if this is something that you would do, if you would cut one of these guys because you need a center and you don't think Koloko's ready, then why did you, somewhere along this process, you did not do this right? Or you get back to what is Bronny doing on the roster? If you needed a roster spot, it starts becoming a process thing.
If they had taken a different second rounder that wasn't Bronny and signed him to a contract, then you're still locked in here. Because if they once they use that second rounder on anyone, Bronny or otherwise, and a player that they intended to keep, then here we are, because the chances of that second round.
They might not have used the pick at all, though.
They might not have. That's what I'm saying. Once you use the pick, then you're locked in where you are, because, are there minimum centers out there that could do?
Not
really. It's a
but
real tough position to find good players at.
It is thin, man. We've looked.
It's real thin. So, the bigger issue isn't so much, I think, backup center. It's that you also don't have enough credible, because Wood is hurt, because Vanderbilt's hurt. You don't have enough guys who can be like, let's go small, but small with a little bit of size. Our power forward is 6'9". We've got 2 6'9" guys.
They need another Markieff Morris from 2020.
Yeah, just bulky guys who aren't centers, and they're undersized, and you're going to get burned if you do it for too long, but you can play big, small, which is really what the Lakers did in 2020 a lot.
Yes, they did.
Where they played a big, when they, in times when they went small, they were still really long and big and whatever. They just sometimes played without traditional centers. And so the team is what it is for the next month, 6 weeks, whatever it is. I think I'd be surprised if they made a move of substance, but that's a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, Andy, the problem is the San Antonio Spurs. I am excited to watch Wemby. I'm excited to watch the Spurs. I'm excited to see what their court looks like with the NBA Cup, and Cup or not, this is a team that is chasing them in the standings. We'll talk about what happens in the game after the game on Friday, and obviously get you prepared for the really big game against the horrible New Orleans Pelicans on Saturday, a game that the Lakers just have to win. So it'd be great if they go 2-0. 1-1 is the minimum. And so we will be back after Friday's game. Locked On Lakers on YouTube as we can go hang out with over 26,000 subscribers. We'll see everyone in a few hours.